Are you looking to build an unstoppable real estate team that will allow you to get out of production fully at some point? If so, then this episode of Mega Real Estate Talk is for you. Episode 35, let's do this.
You're listening to Mega Real Estate Talk with Jared Davis and Galen Parker, your source for an honest, insightful look into Central Virginia's real estate market. Combined, Jared and Galen have over 20 years sales experience, as well as hundreds of testimonials from clients past and present who rely on them for advice and assistance when buying and selling homes in today's incredibly hot and competitive real estate market. And now, your hosts, Jared Davis and Galen Parker.
I am Jared Davis.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm still Galen Parker.
And this is another episode of Mega Real Estate Talk. Man, we have been just crushing some video lately. I feel like it has been constant. If you haven't already, we ask that you please like, subscribe, and comment. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcast channel, please subscribe. But if you're on YouTube, definitely comment below. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you want to hear us talk about next. Like, subscribe to the channel, and this is obviously our Mega Agent Academy channel. If you'll look, there's an affiliated channel there entitled Living in Richmond, Virginia. We'd love to see you subscribe to that too and see what we got going on. We've had a lot of people mentioning the videos lately, haven't we, Gabe?
I am loving it. We had something that was really cool, and I'm glad that there was another agent there to witness it, because sometimes I feel like when we tell people, they're like, oh, okay. But this time, like, I'm at an open house, because you guys know how much I love open houses, and if you're an agent in Richmond, you need someone to do your open house, holler at your boy. I'm ready to dazzle. I'm at an open house with a newer agent, and he's like, hey, can I shadow you? I'm like, absolutely, come through. A couple people come through. A guy comes in, and he's got his mask on, he's got glasses, and he keeps like looking at me, and I'm like, what is about to happen right now? Sometimes you get that vibe when someone's making like hard eye contact with you, and just like, oh boy, what's going on? And he's like, hey, do you have a YouTube like show, like a YouTube show? I'm like, yeah, I do. He's like, man, I actually just saw one of your videos. I love it. And I was just like, I like the other agent. I'm like, you saw that? You saw it? And he was like, no, that's great. He was like, we're temporarily living in Short Pump in an apartment. I'm looking to move back into the area. So I kind of like Googled like living in Richmond. He was like, and your video popped up. And he was like, yeah, thanks. This was great.
Love it.
I've been emailing back and forth with him over the past couple of days. And so hopefully we'll, if he gets a job transfer, he'll be moving to the beautiful city of Richmond, Virginia. Ladies and gentlemen, that's how it's done. This is why we do the thing we do.
That is awesome. Yeah, if you're listening to this here, you're probably a realtor. Some of our clients and friends and family and buyers and sellers will also listen to the podcast, but we really split it between the two channels because Living in Richmond is more buyer and seller focused. This is for you realtors that want to build your business, that want to partner with us. We're hoping to hear from you guys. Like I said, I think we mentioned in the last podcast, we've got somebody in Brazil that just partnered with us. We've got a guy down in Florida and Georgia, so we're trying to launch into as many different markets as we can and just help people blow their business up. So if we can help you grow your team, please reach out to us. We'd love to teach you and show you what partnering with us looks like.
It feels good to get the validity. Is
validation?
Validation.
I think
is validity a word?
They're both words.
Somebody Google that. It feels good when like someone you don't know, you didn't have to like prop them up or like send them links. They were just like, hey, I found it. And I found you in person, and now we're talking about it. It's just like, man, thank you so much. We had a guy, this one was a little bit different. He was on like one of the Facebook pages, and he was like, I need to know about real estate investing. Is there anyone I can talk to? And I sent him the link, and then he went to the YouTube. He was like commenting in some of the videos and saying like, I'm going to watch all these. And I'm just like, man, that's awesome. Now that was a little bit different, but he had a question, and we provided the answer because that's what we do.
Yeah, we were sitting in our office yesterday, and a lady came up to us. And I've seen her face around, but we've never really had a conversation, so I don't know who she is and what she does. Sorry. If you know, you should come up and we'll talk more if you're listening to
Super
this
nice
too.
Lady.
It was a really nice lady, but she said she just came up to us and we were having a meeting, and she was like, hey, for some reason, your video, Pros and Cons of Richmond, was popping up on my Facebook page, and I watched it, and it was great, so I just wanted to let you guys know.
I was so happy. I was like, oh.
Yeah,
So my hard work comes paying
our
off
hard
to
work.
our hard work.
It's
my
working.
late hours of night.
of editing and stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's we've
I was trying to think of a way to like take a shot at Mike, and I couldn't think of one thing.
Thanks.
We love you, Mike.
he's finally doing what we've told him to do after all these years. No, it's finally work. Consistency is key. If you're a realtor, this is a side thing. This isn't our deep dive. Our deep dive is how to build an unstoppable real estate team.
Unstoppable.
But if you're looking to do video content and stuff too, like heck, we should probably do a podcast and video content on creating video content, right? Because
Absolutely.
We've learned a lot. People that are doing it even better and bigger than us in different places of the country. We've gone to seminars, and the consistency of it, making sure it's clear who your market is and your target market is, so YouTube knows and your podcast knows and Google knows. But it's finally grabbing. We've got thousands of viewers at this point and thousands of downloads, and it's going the right direction.
Thank you.
Feels good.
Thank you. And you. And you.
Yeah, so if you're creating video content too and you're like, oh my gosh, is this worth it? Just know it takes time. And so for all of you people, if you're like me and you're type A and you're just like, oh, I want this to work right now.
I'm shy.
It is like a slow burn, and at some point it just kind of tips. It's just like building a real estate pipeline, right? And then at some point you're like, this is actually working. So anyways, Mike, deep dive us.
I can't afford the cost of this living. Your love was a luxury you took from me.
Is this your band you like?
This is for Galen.
What is that?
This is for Galen.
This isn't the one you like. This isn't the people you like, is it?
No.
Oh, okay.
I do like this one.
Me too. Make sure we get that copyright stuff for YouTube so that we can still play it. We own this YouTube. You can't unmonetize me. Are we fading out? Fading out. Alrighty. So, Galen, he's texting people
I'm
during
not
the podcast.
texting,
He's so disrespectful sometimes we do this podcast
No,
together.
here's the thing. For
It's
you
like-
guys, we preach.
I'm glad one of
speed
us wants to
lead.
be here.
We preach speed to lead, but one of our leads is like texting right now. They're just like, hey, blah blah blah, and I'm like, I don't want to like ignore them because like they're interacting with the site right now. But then they just
I'm
said
hot.
the thing that they're like, I'm looking for rentals actually, and I was just like,
And we're done. And we're done.
Block.
Well, I'll do
Just
the
kidding,
podcast
guys.
while Galen follows up on leads.
I'm just trying to build a real estate team that's unstoppable.
That's right.
Ladies and gentlemen. So this is
Drop the mic.
yeah. So obviously that is the topic of the day because we get that question a lot. A lot of people they're like, man, if you've gotten a measure of success, it's very easy in this business to get overwhelmed and you're like, I need to add a buyer's agent or a shower's agent or something like that. And they think it's very easy and they're like, oh, I'll just keep adding and it'll grow. It's not that easy. With some thought, you can be successful, unstoppable even.
Are you watching this right now? You're a solo agent.
Talk to the camera, Jared. Look at the camera.
You're doing 40 deals a year, 35 deals a year, 50, 60, 70, 80,
50, 60
maybe
deals?
100 solo. And you're saying to yourself, I just need a buyer's agent.
I just need a buyer's agent.
It is time to step this game up and become a team. I'm just going to hire this buyer's agent, and he's going to have an easy life, taking my overflow, right?
Take that overflow.
He's going to have some solid deals. I'm going to pass him the stuff I don't want. It's going to work out great.
Well,
I got news for you. It's probably not the way to build an unstoppable real estate team.
reality check.
I know that because I did that. I was a guy that was selling, 80, 90, 100 houses a year by myself. And I said, man, I'm going to burn out if I don't do something about this. And at the time, we did at least have a transaction coordinator in the office at the time. That was before we moved to EXP. This is when we were at Remax. So they were doing some of the transaction coordination on the front end. Shout out to Trish.
We love you.
You were awesome. Love you to this day. You're the best. But there was still a lot of back end stuff, and I thought I just need to get a buyer's agent. And so I started down the road of bringing in agents and saying, all right, let me try to get these people selling, maybe taking some of the overflow, doing some showings. And what you realize very quickly is if you don't have the team core values, if you don't have systems in place, if you don't have a structure in place, and now all you have is this one little buyer's agent and you, you really just have a glorified employee that feels like, hey, I'm just working for this guy. Like, he's not going to feel a part of something a lot of the time. If you think I'm wrong, comment below. Tell me about how great your team is with your one buyer's agent. You're like, we kill it together. Great. And maybe you have more of a partnership. I know there's some smaller teams where, they've got a guy and yeah, there is a leader that started it, but one person is kind of, almost an equal and helping out. And I'm not saying you're doing bad if you've only got the one, but
maybe that's the system that they use.
And so maybe that's where you started. So I just want to go a step further and say, hey, you're either solo or you've got one buyer's agent or maybe a couple. Maybe you're losing some. One does good and they leave, and then you've got others that don't get traction. And you're just trying to figure out, what am I doing? How do we do this right? So step one, if you're a solo agent and you haven't already hired a transaction coordinator, that is 100% step one. I find so many people try to get buyer's agents before they have a TC in place. Why is that such an issue, Galen?
Well, for us, for the way our brokers are set up, there's just so many things on the back end that if you're already busy and you're already swamped, now you brought in someone new. It's like, well, now you got to teach them the backwards way in which you've been struggling to get your paperwork, your processes, you getting paid, you're missing documents,
ordering
and stuff
termites,
like that.
ordering HOAs,
So
ordering
it's like,
septic and
you're
well
like,
tests.
You see how I'm barely staying above water? This could be you. And like they're thinking like, this is not what I want. So if you get yourself a TC, one, that'll help you in your own personal business, because then he'll will kind of tell you, exactly, like, here's the documents you need, here's the dates you need to hit on some of these inspections, here's the responses, here's the order packet, here's HOA stuff.
Stuff got to the lender,
Get
stuff got
all
to
of that
lawyers.
stuff in order, so that when you bring someone in new in, you can almost set it up, and then she'll be able to tell them, oh, here are the documents you need. And you're already busy, so you're probably already doing on nonstop listing appointments, and you don't have time. But you want to teach them correctly from the beginning. Don't give them your bad habits. Your bad habits are the reason why you're in this position where you need someone help. So you want to start them off, and so much stress will come off of you. So much stress will come off of them, because if they start a job and they feel like they're drowning already, they are not going to buy into your core values.
So what you're going to find immediately is that when you get your TC, you're already probably going to notice that your production level goes up. Because now, you can probably double your production.
You're like, do I even need a buyer's agent?
Well, that can be the start of it, right? Let's say I find, and you, again, comment below, tell me if I'm wrong. I think over 50 deals personally, it starts to get hectic. Again, I was doing 100. I've got partners in this business that did 175 last year solo with just a TC, right? So it can be done. But I think at a certain point, it starts to get crazy. And when you get a TC in there, I almost guarantee you can double your business. But now here's the thing. What's the sole responsibility of a buyer's agent when you really think about it? What's their job?
I usually think just showing houses.
Let's just say sell houses, right? Because we'll get into clarity. We say buyer's agent, but let's just call them a sales agent. Maybe they can do both.
Selling agent,
But you want them selling houses. The only way you're going to make money off of these buyer's agents or sellers agents is if they're productive. And if you've got them running around doing tasks that you could pay somebody $15 an hour to do, or even a virtual assistant somewhere, $4, $5, $6 an hour to do, you need to put that in place right now. Budget it out.
And I was just thinking, like, if you give your buyer's agent just busy work, they're not going to stay, because they're going to be like, well, I'm not selling any houses. Like, a good agent, like Jared and myself, if you've got a team, your main goal, the thing that you want so much, is for these agents to take off. You want them to just eclipse you as far as production. You want them to be really crushing it. And if they don't feel like they're doing that, then they're going to leave. And so that is why Jared's saying, you want them to be selling houses. You don't want them to be bogged down with your busy work or with any busy work. You want them to be a sniper in the business.
That's it. So you have to put in place the coordinator up front, and you need systems. I personally love Traction the EOS system. It talks about every business needing a visionary and an integrator. The fact of the matter is that most teams out there, it's an agent that's 100% a visionary. If you're listening to this and you're killing it in the business, you're probably a visionary, right? You're like, I can see where I should be going. But the reality is, if you're the one that's integrating everything too, it becomes a nightmare. So that's why in our business, Galen is our integrator. He integrates everything heavily. He's way better at it than I am. And I would like to think I'm the visionary, but ultimately Galen's got a lot of vision too. So we look at it and it's, I know where we need to go, but Galen gets me there because I have no clue what I'm doing most days.
I always think of it. I was reading a blog like a year ago. They were talking about the EOS system, and they said, think of it like this. It said your visionary sees the destination on the map, but your integrator holds the keys to the vehicle.
Yep.
It's like, you're like, I want to get there. Let's go. We got to go there. We got to be there. And then you're like, I don't know where the keys are. I don't know where the gas station. Like, the integrator's like, here are the keys. This is the map. This is the way we go. This is how we get there quickly.
They're both crucial. So one cannot really work without the other. So, and that still, I hate to say this, it still goes a ways down the line. As much as it'd be awesome to get an integrator right away.
Yeah.
For the most part, maybe your TC fills some of that integration role, but you've got to build systems, because if your agents come in and they don't have a process of how buying works, they don't have a process of how selling works, if you've got no rhyme or reason to meetings and training and all of those things, you're going to lose them, because they're going to say, I don't feel like I'm getting what I need out of this. I'm going to go find somebody else that's going to get me what I need, right?
And here's the terrible part of that. Even if you have those things, you still might lose people.
We do. We just lost a guy the other day that great, loved us both, had nothing against us, and just said, I thought this would be a better fit. But, at the end of the day, he was working a full-time job. And we never really saw him. So he could have hands-on, one-on-one with us every day if he wanted to. But we just didn't hear about it, until it was too late. So you are going to lose some people regardless, and even if you're doing the best you can. But that's why numbers are crucial, right?
Gotta keep bringing them in.
You got to give agents direction. You need direction to be able to do that. So looking at Traction, EOS, Rocket Fuel, they're good books. You should check them out. Really get like a traction organizer. It lets you say, hey, what's our 1 year goal? What's our 3 year goal? What's our 7, our 10? How are we getting there? And that lets agents come in and see the vision, right? And a buyer's agent or seller's agent doesn't buy into a team leader. They buy into the vision. So if they can see that vision, it's going to help you a lot. So if you have no vision, probably aren't going to go anywhere, right? A sailboat with all the wind in the world is pointless if it doesn't have a destination, right? So you got to know where you're heading. So you've got your TC now. You've got some systems in place. You say, man, I'm selling more than ever. We're doing good. We've got lead flow coming in. We really need some agents, right? The next thing to figure out is, are they just going to be buyer's agents?
Yeah.
Are you going to allow them to list as well? Do you have separate listing agents and buyer's agents? Or do you let them just go do whatever? They can list, they can sell, they can do whatever they want. Or what are their splits going to be, right? Is there split on something you give them less than if it was something that they self-procured, like a family member, right? Or is it a flat fee across the board, right? When you think about leads, who are your A-tier leads going to, right? Most likely you have some leads that maybe convert at a higher rate. Do those go to everybody, or do you work your way into them, right? These are all things that you have to figure out as you start bringing agents on board. And this is where I'll throw out, to build an unstoppable real estate team, there isn't one right answer. Because, we're the number 2, where there's only 2 mega icon teams with EXP in all of Central Virginia, and we are one, and then the people that brought us into EXP are the other one. So we're the 2 biggest teams. And even though we're both producing at a super high rate, they run theirs completely different than we run ours. And there's nothing wrong with it, again, right? Like, they've got people that just list, and they got people that just sell, and their splits are maybe a little stricter, but only because maybe they've got maybe some higher tier leads that are going to some of these people, and they don't have to work on producing their own stuff at all, right? So there's nothing wrong with either, but you need to figure it out, because what you don't want to do is start hiring agents and saying, here's all your splits, and then 6 months in be like, that I don't think this is working, and then change splits for people coming in the door, right? You're just going to run into issues, I think.
And you have to, I think what we've done pretty well is like getting to know the agents and knowing what they want to do. because a lot of our agents, especially in our team, they don't want to just do one thing. They want to be on both sides of the transaction, and maybe that'll change down the road. But I like the fact that we give them the latitude or just the ability to do. They're not boxed in, because I feel like if you bring someone into let's say a system where it's like, all right, you're only a buyer's agent, and they want to do more. They want to see their name on the sign. They've got people want to list with them. They don't want to give that away. There's only really one option for them at that point, and that's they've got to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And you generally don't want people just immediately taken off the door. You're trying to think, well, how can I keep them happy? And so every team is different. And so for the teams that do that, I am certain that they've got something in place that has these agents that are just like, you know what, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. So whatever it is, that's what they use. But you've got to figure out what you're going to use. What's going to make you successful?
Yeah, and the beautiful thing about at least EXP is that if we lose a team agent and they want to go start their own thing or build a mega team, we're still going to help them do that, because we still get to make money off of it, and it works out great. We have a handful of agents that have said, hey, I'm ready to go off and do my own solo career. And you're like, fantastic. Are you leaving EXP? They're like, heck no, we love EXP. We love the systems. We love you. We just want to go solo. Great. Okay. And we'll still help them. They're not going to be in our team anymore. They're not going to be in our systems anymore. But any system that they want of ours to replicate, we'll then give them. That's the whole thing about helping build teams across the country. That's what we're doing right this second. So the next thing you have to figure out is, how many agents do you actually want to hire? In my building of a team, I realized that anything under 10, it was very hard to be consistent. Now, you may be looking at this video and saying, oh my God, I don't even have one. or I have 2 or 3 and it's like herding cats. How am I supposed to get 7 more? But the reality is, at least this is what I have found, as you build your systems, as you build your vision, as you build your core values, and you build your team, and you give people something to attain and shoot for and want to be a part of, not until you get 10 people you start to have enough agents where they're consistently at team meetings, they're consistently at call days, they're consistently helping each other out, right? When you have 1 or 2 people, and again, maybe this is you, right? You go out of town. You're like,
what
man,
happens?
You're like, I'm glad I got that buyer's agent because he's helping me out a lot. Or you say, I'm going to be a team where I'm just listing and my buyer's agent's going to take all the buyers. Then he goes out of town. Well, now guess what you just became again?
Enjoy showing all those houses.
That's it. And you may be okay with it, but we're talking about building an unstoppable real estate team. Sorry, that's not the way to do it. So You've got to be in a position where when you go out of town or one of your other people goes out of town, they can shoot a message to the team message chat and say, hey, who wants to help me? And everybody there is behind it because they say, you know what? This guy helped me when I was gone. They helped me when I was gone. I'm going to pick up the slack and I'm going to help here. Right.
And it's funny, like you mentioned before about like not just being on the team, but buying into the team. They're not buying into you. They're buying into the whole thing. And one of the ways that I think you and I measure that is like, well, how helpful are they? Are they willing to help? Do they show up at team things? Like we've got a team meeting on Tuesdays. We've got a team call day on Thursdays. If a person's consistently not at those things, well, generally it kind of means without any communication, it's like, well, they're either not bought in anymore. And so they're kind of like, unless we know what's going on, they're on team in name, right? They're not part of the team, they're on the team.
Yeah.
And those are 2 big things. I know you're not a big basketball guy, but right now it's like we think about basketball. It's like, all right, you've got your starting team members, then you got other people who are just on the team. Mm-hmm. Those are 2 drastically different roles that they play. And so you need enough people that are going to be, actively involved in the team, and we've got a good amount, but you're going to need that as well because, as Jared mentioned, you go on vacation, you get busy, family emergencies, you're going to need. Now, if you've got a bunch of people who are just on team and name and all, and you said it like you're looking for help and no one responds, well, then it's like, how are you any better?
Yeah.
That's the definition of stoppable. You've been stopped.
That's it.
Right. We need unstoppable. So that's what you need to look for, and you're going to have to like use your intuition a little bit to like kind of evaluate what that person, what that agent looks like and how you can attract them.
And here's the thing. I'm going to make a basketball analogy.
Oh my. Hey, you guys ready for this? Are you ready for this? Dun, dun, dun. Lay it on us.
You could be LeBron James in your team.
He knows who he is.
Right? He's the only one I can do this for. But thing is, if he gets hurt during the game,
Very good.
he's got to sit down. They've got to put somebody else in his place. And is that guy as good as LeBron James?
Nope.
Heck no. Is he 70% as good as LeBron James?
Maybe.
Let's call it 70.
Let's go 70.
Does the game still get played?
Yep.
100%, right? So this is where as a team
Does the game
lead,
get won?
this is where as a team lead, you got to get rid of your like cockiness and your arrogance and realize that 10 people that can do it 70% as good as you can do it are still better than you doing 100% of it.
Yeah.
And so you bring these 10 people in, you're going to find that you've got some people that are still working full-time jobs or part-time jobs. Maybe this is a weekend job for them, but you want them to be a part of it. You want to help them grow. You've got other people that, are really busy all the time, right? So they're your agents that are like, hey, we're already selling 40, 50 houses a year. And so your team meetings may not always have people there. You're smiling at me real hard. What
I'm
is
just so
happening?
happy about the LeBron James thing. I'm like sitting there like, I'm so proud right now.
To another.
I love sports so much, and I'm just like,
So, at the end of the day, you got to figure at 10 agents. I know you may be sitting here saying, I don't want a 10 agent team. That's too big. That's too. Well, guess what? This may not be for you. Find one of our other podcasts or
get
you know,
a
one of the other
slightly
episodes.
stoppable.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And this took me so long to wrap my head around because I was somebody that before I moved to EXP, it was just kind of like we had the biggest team at 5 or 6 in Remax, because Remax, at least that office wasn't huge on teams at the time, and it was kind of like, man, I don't think I could handle any more people and this and that. And as soon as I moved over, the guy that helped me sponsor into EXP, he was like, dude, you got to go to 10 within the next 12 months. And I was like, man, you think I can do that? And within 12 months, we were at 13, and it just clicked. It was like, oh, I've got to leave the office. And then I leave, and all the agents are still around for happy hour. They don't even realize I left. Or they don't care that I left, right? When it's 4 or 5 and only 2 people show up, and the team lead's like, all right, I'm out of here too. They're like, all right, what do we do?
We're out of here too.
You know what I mean? But when there's 8 people there, and they're hanging out, and they're having a good time, and they're networking, and they're, helping each other, and they're shooting topics across each other, and getting opinions, and all, then now everything's not falling on you. So you start to build camaraderie. 8 to 10, 12, 13 people, you also get like this person hits it off with this person, whereas maybe this person didn't hit it off with these 2, but they really like this person. So now you can kind of see how people will start to rely on certain people, and everything's not falling back on you all the time.
Very nice.
So now you've got some systems, you've got your transaction coordinator, you've got some agents now. You're starting to get traction. Sales are going good. How do you take it to the next level? Who are the next people you have to think about? I'm going to spitball because, again, there isn't a hard, fast rule.
Okay.
But virtual assistants, if you need cheap labor, if you need labor that,
I like that.
that is maybe like an input task, an upload task, social media, transaction coordinating, spreadsheets, all of that stuff, it's very good to think about virtual assistants, especially if you're watching budgets, because it can get expensive if you start hiring a bunch of salary workers in office.
So I had a rock star assistant for a long time, and then she decided, to have another third baby, and
I miss her every day.
Yeah, that was great. Anyway, so I found a app called Stuff, and I've been using it for about a month now for random things, but doing reminders for my appointments or whatever, I give the person or whoever it is that you're asking a list of call outs or whatever, and they do it, and then they send you back a receipt of the reply and all that, and getting back, and they ask you if you want to go any further with that one, or it's amazing. $20 a month.
Yep. So you got Stuff. We'll throw you some gold nuggets here. You've got, if you reach out to us, we actually have a VA that will interview VAs and send you resumes for what you need done and get you one hired. So throwing that out there is a reason to reach out to us to let us help you with that. You also have things like Upwork. Upwork will let you not only hire people to find people, but it'll let you look at their screens as they're working. So you can look at what they're doing in their tasks and be able to track it. So hey, is this person actually doing what I'm telling them to do? You've got Fiverr, which is maybe not a virtual assistant, but just a way to say, hey, I need a banner done for YouTube. I need an ad done for this open house. I need a flyer done for this. And they can turn stuff around for super cheap.
I've been using Fiverr a lot because it's just there's just little little things that like I can't do myself.
Yeah.
Right. Where I'm like, I need this graphic, and then they're just like, I'll do it in 5 seconds, and it'll cost you $6. And it's just like, all right, yeah, that easy money well spent, and I can use my time doing something else.
Yeah, so I like a virtual assistant for different roles because as you start to grow your team, you'll notice you went from this solo agent that was maybe killing it, and maybe your margins were really good, but you knew you had to take it to the next step. And what you realize is that to take it to the next step, you've got to budget. You've got to be able to pay people. You've got to be able to buy marketing. You've got to be able to buy software. You have to give the team a reason to want to be around you and get a perk for giving up that team split, right? So a virtual assistant is a way where you can get labor done without maybe having to spend all of the bankroll while you're still trying to get your agents moving. Because you'll realize you're still the one that's selling most of the houses if you're building the team, and you got some agents that aren't going to grab traction as fast as you would like, and the money's not going to flow in as fast as you would like it to, so you may want some cheaper systems up front. If that's not the case and you start saying, man, we've got 5, 6, 7 agents, we're all crushing, we're doing a few hundred deals a year, a couple hundred deals a year, 100 deals a year, whatever it may be, right? You may start looking into some things like sales managers, right? If you got a couple rock stars on your team where they're doing really good, what you will find is if they are part of the team and they're part of the vision and they're part of core values, they probably want more responsibility even outside of selling. Not everybody. But if you can now take some of your good agents and put them in charge of maybe some of your newer agents so that now they're doing some of the training, you can compensate them for this, obviously. Some teams just say, hey, $100 off of the deal on anybody in your squad, right? So it's not going to be a huge amount of money. They're doing it for the team itself.
Yeah.
But let's say their squad, there's 20 deals that month. It's still an extra $2,000 a month. So for someone like that, they may be super happy about that. Sales managers can work good. We talked about the integrator earlier, so like I got Galen as my integrator, so that's one of those things.
I was getting like episodes confused. I'm like, what? Yes,
it was this episode, pretty sure. So you know, you may start looking at that. Who's on my team, or who could I bring in that can really be that right hand to take this to the next level and really make it part of their own. Sales managers, virtual assistants, and then 2 other things you can think about. One, an ISA. Right?
Yeah.
So it's essentially just a sales assistant that all they're doing is making calls, okay? What you will find, and we actually are not using ISAs right now. We have in the past. I have hired in the past. I'm thinking about maybe moving forward at some point and trying to incorporate it again. Your typical agent that sells houses and does it well is not normally also a good sit in the office and make calls person. They're if you made them take disc tests and said like, this is the kind of person you are, the guy that's out there talking to people or gal on listing appointments with buyers, writing contracts, selling real good, negotiating, they're not the same person. We always want them to be, and we need them to be, and we need to be, but in reality, if you can hire somebody that just says, hey, you sit at this desk and you make calls 20 hours a week or 40 hours a week, and you're just running through the leads and setting up appointments, and we'll compensate you hourly, plus we'll give you some bonuses on anything that actually closes out of it. That is a very successful model if you can get it done correctly. Like, we have, 8,000 leads in our database. We know one of our biggest issues is getting our agents to call them and call them 6 times and do everything. So Galen's like, can we hire an ISA right now?
Tell me more.
So the ISA is good because you can have them. That's all they're doing. And the thing is, a good ISA, they actually like doing it. So whereas your agent likes being out and selling, right? And you think, I would rather take a cheese grater to my face than make more calls.
And if you've got,
the ISA personality says, I love this.
And to me,
I think about like Chris Elliott is like a perfect ISA guy who
love you, Chris.
Chris Elliott, bro. I hope you're listening to this. You're like, hey man, you want to like get a drink together? And he's like, nope. I want to sit on the phone. And it's just a weird thing because it's rare that you get an agent that again crushes the agent side, but also just wants to make calls. But that's what the ISA is good for.
And if you're managing your team, well, then maybe you consider some of the cost of that ISA, and maybe that affects the splits of those leads, obviously, right?
A lot of times.
To me, that would make sense.
So this goes both ways for ISAs, and then the last thing that I hadn't mentioned yet that I'll throw out, showing assistants. So as you get busy and your team gets busy and your rock stars take off and they start needing help, you have, again, two options. You could say an ISA where we'll pay them a salary and they'll get a bonus out of it, but that agent may be paying part of their split to that bonus because the ISA did the work, found the lead, passed it on, right? Now you're taking it off. You got to pay them something. The flip side is showing assistants. We can do the same thing. So there's certain ways you can do it where you can say, hey, maybe it's new agents. You know, some teams require their new agents to start as showing assistants because it gives them that experience of showing houses and talking to clients, but doesn't necessarily let them mess up the negotiation and paperwork side up front. So they get used to doing the starting things that a realtor is doing. And you may say, hey, $50 a door, $25 a door, $40 a door, $100 a door, and anytime you open that door, we'll pay you, right? That's a nice way for even the team lead to start getting out of production if you want to get out of production, right, is to say, all right, I'm going to at least stop showing. We'll still negotiate. We'll still try to do paperwork or write contracts or do whatever, but I'm going to have my new agents or some of these buyer agents, I'm going to start paying them to open the doors, and that's a way.
I love all of this.
The flip side is the buyer's agents can do the same thing. You could say, hey, if you want to take advantage of such and such or such and such on our team, just pay them X amount of dollars, and they can go show houses. Now, our team, we've established, I've asked multiple times, do we want showing, do you want to pay somebody? And they're all just against it. They're like, no, we're here for the team. We will show for free. We'll do all this stuff for free. But it doesn't mean that you may not incorporate some people in your team where you're just like, hey, you're not taking traction. You want to make like $400 or $500 a week? Just show.
I showed someone a house on our team recently. I went through the whole house with the wonderful couple. They were his friends. We did the whole thing. The couple called me later and was like, hey, would you be able to help us with the contract? And I gave him some tips on like what to offer and stuff. And I was like, but ideally, your agent, he's going to want to write this for you just so that he doesn't have to like give me more money. So I did all of that, never asked for anything. And then like the agent went under contract based on the information I gave them. And then he was like, hey man, thank you so much. What's your Venmo? What is it? Just tell me. And I sent it to him, and I didn't say like, oh, send me this. He sent me some cash for it, and I'll probably forget it's in the Venmo. But I mean, it's just kind of like that's the type of thing. It's like I wasn't gonna like bleed him for that, but you know, some people want to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, we just got a
Garrett Haywood's
male
here.
model just walked into the building.
One of our new agents. We're filming our podcast. So the thing you got to figure, right, with the showing assistants, you can do per door, especially if that agent's trying to do their own production themselves. Another thing people will do sometimes is say, hey, we're just gonna keep you out of production. Maybe it's an agent that doesn't really want to go out and self-produce. Maybe it's an agent that says, hey, I'm not getting the traction, but I really need the pay, or I'm gonna have to get out of this business.
Right.
One thing you could do is say, hey, we'll pay you $45,000 a year, straight salary, but now you take your top 3 agents on the team and you make them pay the salary. So let's say you have an agent that's selling 50, 60 houses a year. They're already making good money. They're already at that level now where they're starting to burn out. You could say, hey, would you give up $15,000 if you're already making $200,000 net, $250,000
to never have to?
Would you give up $15,000 of that? But you can have a showing assistant that shows everything you want to show, and you get a couple agents like that on your team, and now this person's paid for. You as the team lead aren't having to pay for that service, right? Unless you want to throw in $15,000 and make them your showing assistant too, right? Hypothetically.
Yeah.
But now you've got a showing assistant helping your people.
Very nice.
So I know we've gone over a lot of different things.
One last thing I just want to toss in.
Go
It's
for
very
it.
short. At the end of the day, don't beat yourself up, right? So it's like you're going to fail. Just keep going. Like, you know, it hurts us when we lose an agent, but we just had this conversation the other day. So you just got to look down the road. What will we do for the next agent that comes in? What will we do different to keep them? So if it goes bad for you, don't beat yourself up. Jared, wrap us up. What did we talk about today?
So obviously, building an unstoppable team. Start with transaction coordination and systems 100% before you ever get agents. Build your agents. I say at least 10, but I'd love to hear your comments on the matter.
Maybe you say 5. Maybe it works for you. Tell us your system.
We've got 23. We're going to 40. 40 is my number, especially if you're, you know, if you're thinking about
30 was your number.
It was, and then he convinced me otherwise. And you realize with EXP, 40 is the number. It just works better that way. We can go into that if you want to reach out. We'll tell you why it works out better that way for you as a team lead or even just a realtor here. Once you have your realtors in place, you want virtual assistants, ISAs, showing assistants, sales managers, integrators. Those are all choices. Now, if you reach out to us for help. One thing I will tell you is we've gone over a lot. We have an entire spreadsheet built out, an entire essentially plan that shows how to go from step 1, which is you as a solo agent getting a TC, to step 6, which is pretty much you, your integrators, sales managers, listing coordinators, all of that stuff. And we will share it with anybody that has partnered up with us pretty much. So if you want us to help you build that thing out, we will help you do that. So again, if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, comment on our channel if you're listening on YouTube. If you're listening on your podcast, like it, subscribe. I don't even think you can like the podcast. Can you? I don't know. Subscribe. But
you can like it internally.
On top of that, just keep listening.
Just enjoy it.
On top of that, find us on YouTube, Mega Agent Academy on YouTube, and Living in Richmond, Virginia. You can find me on Instagram at __ the Davis Group, or you can email me directly at jared@centralvarealty.com. Galen?
If you need me on Instagram, it's your realtor's favorite realtor, RVA. You can also find me at Galen, Galen, at centralvarealty.com. I'm still giving out the cell phone number.
For it.
804-274-9016. I get some weird text messages, but I know it wasn't you. Looking to hear from you.
That's it. Let's partner up. Let's help you blow your business up. This has been another episode of Mega Agent Talk, episode 35. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.
If you have a real estate question that you would like to ask Jared or Galen, reach out to them at jared@centralvarealty.com or Galen@centralvarealty.com. Who knows, it may even be featured on an upcoming episode.